Disclaimer! The following episode contains spoilers for Deadpool 2. Don't go crying to your mum if we spoil it for you. You've been warned. Welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. And this week, maximum effort! We're talking about Deadpool 2! Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and are joined each week by a very special different guest. Now, as I said, we're talking about Deadpool 2. I'm excited, but we're joined this week by a very special guest. We are joined, you may have heard him on the Juggernaut and in his own podcast, the Ginger Geek podcast on Ginger Geek blogs. Give it up for Matt Delhauer!
Hello!
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, Scott. Thank you for having me on.
No, it is a pleasure to have you here. Where are you calling from?
I am out in the New York area in good old United States of America.
Ah, yes. Land of the free, the home of the brave, and, of course, the shopping mall spray tan salon.
Absolutely.
Now, Deadpool 2. What can we say about it? Did you like it?
Oh, my God, I loved it. I loved this movie.
Yeah, it's everything I hoped for, and I think it's fair to say a lot of hopes were pinned on this movie. The hopes of us, the fans, the hopes of Ryan Reynolds, because the first one, you could argue that was a fluke. He took this little not nothing idea, but this something that didn't have a lot of backing, didn't have a lot of faith from the studio, and turned it into this phenomenon. This was his chance to prove that he could actually turn it into a thing, like a real thing.
Oh, yeah. It was, it took him, 7 years to get the first movie to just be actually put out in theaters?
Yeah, and all it took was a relatively small budget and someone leaking the test footage. And it actually got turned into this amazing thing. I loved the first movie. What did you think of the first movie?
The first movie was such like a breath of fresh air when it came out, because it was definitely at a point when so many people were talking about the possibility of like just superhero fatigue and everything. And it was just... Which
really pisses me off. I'm going to go on a side rant. This is going to happen.
Go ahead, go through it. This is what happens.
I'm so sick of superhero TT. Fucking James Cameron saying, I can't wait for people to get sick of the Avengers. Like, yeah, I get it. When a lot of movies and a lot of... in the very same genre or subgenre come out, I get it. It can be quite a lot, but like, no, fuck off. Just, if the great way to avoid superhero fatigue, make good fucking superhero movies. That's people saying, ooh, I'm so sick of westerns, ooh, I'm so sick of romance movies. Like, fine, okay, fucking watch something else. Meanwhile, Hollywood, just keep making this sort of stuff and have variety. If there was nothing but superhero movies in the cinema right now, I would be sick of it too. And this is a goddamn superhero themed show based on a superhero goddamn themed website. But that's not the case. So let's just fucking buck up and watch stuff, okay?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I really, it's a bit unfair to ask you to expect a response to that, but still.
No, don't worry, Scott. I've listened to the show. I know how you operate.
Oh, God. But speaking of this show, I think it's important, before we go talking about Deadpool in any greater detail, talk about your show. Talk about you. What do you do? Tell the capers about yourself.
What do I do? Well, I first came on the scene of podcasting back in 2015. When I appeared on a little show that some of your listeners may know called the Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Good friends of the show. That was the very first podcast I appeared on as well.
And I had met Imran through a mutual friend and another website that he had going, the How Do I Jump site that Peter Kendall runs. And in doing so, we wound up coming up with an idea to, funny enough, I think actually because of David. He wanted to run this whole idea for Place to Hang Your Cape and a few of like the affiliated friends and, podcast friends and everything that was dedicating all of September in 2015 to Spider-Man, and they called it
Spider-Timber.
So I had talked to Imran, and he had said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show, and especially if we do something for this, because it'll be like a crossover with How Do I Jump and everything. I was like, well, I don't really know what I could do. I was like, but if it's got to be about Spider-Man, I know a lot of stuff about movies. Why don't I just come on and bitch about how Spider-Man 3 sucked for like a couple hours? He's like, yeah, sure, let's do that, absolutely. So the first episode I ever did was why Spider-Man 3 sucks, and it turned from there into a series with them called What the Fuck Happened, where I watch terrible superhero movies and I complain about how bad they are and try to figure out like the behind the scenes reasons as to why they were so terrible.
We're grateful for your suffering. I've listened to your one with about Green Lantern. Just in preparation, because it ties in with the whole Ryan Reynolds thing rather nicely. I feel
absolutely.
I mean,
and then from there, just real quick, from there, I just this past March released my own podcast that I'm doing now called Ginger Geek Pod, where the whole concept is one of the things I know I've been told by several listeners, Jock and Nerd, as well as Anthony and Imran, is they're like, dude, you put so much effort into all the research you do for this. And it's something that I really love doing. Like it's almost like a mystery solving thing to me, where it's just digging into all this kind of stuff. So what I decided to do was, instead of doing yet another podcast where it's, a white guy in his 20s talking about, superhero and movies and whatever.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I wanted to do something that I felt like I was putting, funny enough, maximum effort into. So what I try and do is I try and find things that you can learn through the medium of movies, television, comics, whatever it is. So it's things like, the first one I did was using Star Wars to understand Carl Jung and psychology,
which I found fascinating. I found absolutely, because I mean, I don't have a background in psychology, but I did study it in school, and I love Star Wars, and I have thoughts and feelings about The Last Jedi, and I found your episode on that not only quite moving, actually, but genuinely interesting, because I don't know that much about Jungian, whatever you call it, psychology. I studied more of the Freudian stuff.
What I really try and do is I feel like it's so much easier to take things that people are a little more familiar with just on the day-to-day basis, such as Star Wars or, other movies, other, fandoms that they have, and show that these things can be a doorway into deeper concepts that they may not think they can relate to as well. So it's using Star Wars to look at psychology, as well as, funny enough, the second episode I did was using, it was kind of a back and forth. It was using the movie Scream to look at psychology, but also using psychology to get a deeper meaning out of the movie Scream.
So I find this fascinating also because my personal definition of art, and I do believe movies are art, is that it's something that reflects humanity in some way. And so using art and films to explore a deeper understanding of who we are and how we work and how we go about our lives, I find not only really interesting, just also really refreshing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something I've always loved about, the art and the media that I consume, is the fact that there's always a way to find something in it that reflects you or society or something else around you. And it's why I've come to notice that there are a lot of people these days where they're only consuming the art that we have at such a surface basis. And it feels like that's becoming a major issue in being able to recognize and understand art. And like it's weird for me to say, but it was legitimately Last Jedi was the thing that made me want to do this, because this was a movie that when I first saw it, I was very iffy on. I didn't really know how to feel about it because I didn't know what to expect so much when I went in, and what I did expect never came to be. And it took me more than one viewing to really recognize a lot of the deeper things that I found so fascinating about the movie. And that was, I remember having a conversation with one of my friends who really did not like it, and telling them, like, dude, you got to give it a second chance. Let it be what it is and look for things that are deeper. And his response was to completely shut down to that and just be like, no. If it didn't get me the first time, it didn't do its job, and I'm not interested. It's not Star Wars and everything. I was like, I can't help you.
So what, you can't think about it a bit more? Just like,
exactly.
Like,
my feeling was,
worst case scenario, you'll have the exact same reaction, and then you'll know.
Yeah. And it was just, I felt like it was such a closed-minded opinion about it that it didn't really give it a chance. And I felt like that was a problem that I'd seen a lot, and I'd seen it in myself with a lot of the media I consumed in the fandom and everything like that. That like it completely blew my mind to start looking at it in this fashion, and just things like how I went on record with Jock and Nerd for 2 years just bashing the hell out of Batman vs Superman. I still don't think it's a good movie, but I'm not like viscerally upset about it anymore.
Yeah, you've thought it. You put time and effort into just saying, why don't I like this movie? It's not just a gut reaction, because I mean, you're talking about difference how we view movies and stuff like that. I do believe there's a great difference between watching a movie and absorbing a movie and actually properly consuming a movie and all that sort of thing. Because it's easy just to look at a painting and say, oh, I like that painting or I don't. What is it about the painting? What is it about the style? What is it about the subject matter? What is it about how it's framed, how it's constructed? There's all sorts of individual elements that make up any work of art, be it a film or a painting or whatever, and you've got to not just take a good brief skim of the whole. You've got to dive deeper, because you know what? There's fun stuff when you dive down. There's all sorts of shiny things going on and weird sea creatures lurking around, and that's what's fun about it.
Exactly. It's the thing that a lot of people don't recognize, especially in fandom and stuff like that, is your reaction to art only ever says who you are. It never says anything about what the art itself is, because it's not telling you how to react.
That was it. That is a very good point. In which case, I am probably a grumpy bastard. But hey, not with this movie. Not with this movie.
Oh my god, no.
God, I think it's now.
All right, shall we dive in then?
I think we'd better. So we start the movie, and it picks up pretty much where the last movie left off. Deadpool is a mercenary, and he's together with Vanessa, and they're really happy and sweet and together, and everything's absolutely lovely between them. She's dead. I mean, Okay, so before we talk about this, I think we ought to talk about the marketing for this movie, because I avoid trailers like the plague for stuff that I know I'm going to see. I didn't avoid all the trailers for this movie simply because the Deadpool marketing and Deadpool trailers are fascinating to
me. They found a whole new level to work on things like viral marketing with this movie.
Yeah, beyond that short film we saw a couple of months ago, to him hanging out with David Beckham and Celine Dion, who did a song for the movie. Can beauty come out of ashes?
I love the fact that not only did they had her do a song for the movie, her song was basically like his James Bond opening credits theme.
Yeah, it's oh god, and it was just like, and with the David Beckham one especially, like, he was just mentioned in like a throwaway line in the first one, like just saying, hey, look at David Beckham, he's got a weird voice. And they took that and they made it into this massive back and forth between him and David Beckham, who can say lines. I think I can honestly say that he was able to say those lines. Let me put it this way, it's not like his performance in King Arthur.
Oh boy. I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
I mean, okay, to sum up, he was like there for like a hot minute in King Arthur, and you know what? He said his lines in that too. It was fine. I believed he was a person in that saying words. It's nothing to write home about, but it was. Let me put it this way: it's one of those things where, like, you wouldn't expect him to be competent, so when he is perfectly passable, you're like, oh, isn't that nice? Because we're so used to, like, athletes being shit.
Oh yeah, it's not nearly as surprising as, say, like when Harry Knowles was in Dunkirk, and you hear like, oh, is he actually an actor?
I think you mean Harry Styles.
Shit, you're right.
I thought I would have recognized Harry fucking Knowles in Dunkirk.
Oh, he's the fucking ain't it cool guy. That's right. Oh, all right.
I mean, I don't think it would have. That would have been better.
Having fucking Harry Knowles running around on the beaches of Dunkirk. Oh god, this is as bad as when I did Howard the Duck, and I kept calling Leah Thompson Leah Michelle throughout the whole fucking thing.
Again, I think that would have improved the movie. Well, maybe not.
It would have been very interesting because she would have been like 3.
Yeah. What would have been the worst thing in the movie, let's be honest. Fucking that whip. Anyway, we could talk about how it like all fucking day. We have to talk about a good Marvel movie.
Let's get back to things we like.
Yeah. And
I think the opening of the movie, it's you immediately know exactly what you're doing when it just immediately starts off with him with a music box of a dead Logan, and the first words he says are "fuck Wolverine."
Laura, don't be what they made you. So this is what it feels like. Oh God. But and then he then it starts off so slow and so melodic and peaceful, and then he blows himself the fuck up. Toasty. You wonder the wondering, why would he do this? Why? And we get to the reason why. He tried to take out a target, he failed, and then this target shows up again and shoots Vanessa. Now, the reason why I brought up the marketing was because I hadn't seen a lot of the clips from the movie. I noticed that a lot of the clips that I did see, that I happened to catch a glimpse of, I didn't see Vanessa in a lot of them. And I wondered, what are they going to do with her? Is she just going to be sidelined and not really part of the story? Or are they going to fucking kill her? But they wouldn't kill her because that would be stupid. That would be girl in the refrigerator-ing. And they wouldn't do that. Not in something that has a connection to Green Lantern, from where we get that phrase. That couldn't possibly happen. They did it. It's... They girl in the refrigerated Vanessa. I don't know if they... How do you turn that phrase into a verb?
Fridging?
Fridging. Yeah, fridging. They fridged her. They fridging her. And, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
So, my feeling was, going into the movie, I agree with you. I had not seen her in almost any of the marketing, but I did see her out and about doing, like, interviews with them when they were doing, all that movie. So I was like, all right, so obviously she's in this movie. I figured, I don't know if they're going to really try and get her into the whole, X-Force Cable storyline, because...
Well, she is copycat in the comics.
Yeah, but my other feeling with that was going to be, are they going to try and go that route? Because they've already got a major storyline with Cable going on. Maybe she's going to just kind of not be around for a little while. I honestly thought when he first shows up for the anniversary and she's... And it was just going to be like, oh, Vanessa won't be with me. I'm upset. Oh, God, here's this adventure I have to go on. The fact that they went so far as to actually kill her and then make jokes through the entire opening credits about the fact that they killed her, it was fucking brilliant. It was subverting what is so obviously a way to go with it that it made it fresh again.
Possibly. I think that's a good way to look at it. Because I have got nothing else. I mean, really, she is the love interest, and he sort of get back to her. But then again, as the movie goes on, we see Deadpool frequently end up dying, going to the afterlife, sort of. But because of his powers, he's unable to cross over properly, if you will, and be with her. And I thought, A, those scenes were shot magnificently, and B...
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of interesting because I don't think we've seen a story, that I'm aware of at least, where the main character wants to die to be with his girlfriend. Like, that's the main thing. We've seen characters die and end up reunited with their loved ones in the afterlife. Fucking Gladiator did that, but we've never seen one that's the actual goal. Like, hey, how do I kill myself? And I think you're right. There is some subversion going on there.
Yeah, and I think what I was wondering if this was the way they were going to go with it was, in the comics, there are several instances in which we see that Deadpool does want to die, to the point that he has fallen in love with Lady Death because she is so unobtainable to him.
Yeah.
And I wondered if they were going to do that and make Vanessa Lady Death to him.
I did wonder that while I was watching the movie. I was like, is that where they're going with this? And I kept on thinking, Thanos is going to be so mad.
Yes. Obviously, MCU is not willing to go that route, but I feel like Fox would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
But as we move along, we'll see that was not the route they were going anyway.
No, and she sort of turns up sporadically throughout it, and what happens is he's sort of visited by Colossus, who still feels the need to sort of like take care of him, and I still don't know why. I still don't know why Colossus cares so much about Deadpool. I don't mind, because let's be honest, I ship it. It's great, but
Mm-hmm.
I still don't. I don't quite get Colossus's motivation, other than he wants him to be part of the X-Men and put him on a good path. But maybe that's just Colossus. Maybe he's just like that. You know, maybe he's just a caring guy.
It's a little indicative of the comics at times, because he was always kind of the goody two shoes. There's a better way. We can help everybody. Sort of a personality. But I don't think it was ever to the extreme that the movies make it for him. Like, he is to the point of like overly naive about Deadpool in the movies.
Yeah, because I mean, Colossus in the comics, I don't think he was ever naive, as far as aware. He was some stuff he was a bit maybe ignorant of, but for the most part, he had a pretty level head on his shoulders, and you know, he was very morally righteous, but he wasn't anyone's fool. And here, I mean, it's a different take. We're allowed to have different takes, like with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She was very different in the comics, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
And now she's here again, she's looking awesome as usual, and she's got a girlfriend, and now this again, I fucking ship it, because Yukio is adorbs.
Oh my god, she was so great. And I was so proud to be able to say that Deadpool 2 is the first superhero film that has an LGBTQ plus relationship in it explicitly. Like, well, not explicit, but it's not like subtext.
Implicit.
It's just there.
Yeah, implicit. I think because there is no ambiguity about it at all. They are in a gay relationship. It's real. It's happening, and I love it. And
it's fucking adorable.
It's fucking adorable because the such polar opposites. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is so grim and, you know, snarky, and Yuko is just she is Fluttershy made human, or mutant rather.
Oh, she is sugar made into a being.
And yet it's weird though, because we have seen this character before in the Wolverine, throwing further shade at this whole continuity thing. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the timeline is. At this point, I don't care particularly much, just because it's just nice to have this character. It's nice to see her, and nice to have her to be in this relationship. And there's not a lot of focus on it. It's focused on Negasonic Teenage Warhead, but it's just something that's there. It's something that happens, and I love it, and we love it. And then what I love about it as well is this scene where they're trying to convince him to join the team, and he gets a sort of a vision from Vanessa on this Half-Life thing that's saying, your heart's not in the right place. That's vague and ambiguous. I guess it could mean that I need to join the X-Men. Sure, if we get the plot moving, sure, no worries. And then we get another scene where he says like, hey, why is this X-Mansion always so empty? Why do we never see any of the other X-Men? We see like a room full of X-Men. They close the door and it's just like, yes!
I was going to say all of the other X-Men just collected in one room, just obviously trying to avoid him.
It was brilliant, because that was something they pointed out in the last movie, and I wondered, are they actually going to get the X-Men in this movie? But then it's going to be a question of when the big bad happens, why won't the main X-Men show up? This was the perfect way to sort of compromise between those two scenarios.
And I only caught the moment very quickly. So there's only a few people that I recognized in that shot. I don't know if it was definitely Nicholas Hoult, that was Beast, who was closing the door, but it was meant to look like him.
I believe it was. He's credited.
Okay, I was just... And I didn't see who else was in that actual room.
Apparently it was James McAvoy as Professor X, Nicholas Hoult as Beast, Evan Peters as Quicksilver, Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, Alexandra Shipp as Storm, and Cody Smith McPhee as Nightcrawler. So pretty much everyone except Sophie Turner.
And I find it really funny that that's supposed to be like the X-Men crew from the 80s and 90s who are also now just apparently in modern day at the exact same age. And you know
Timeless,
why?
man.
Because Deadpool doesn't give a shit.
Deadpool doesn't give a shit, and that's the best attitude to have with these sorts of things. It's so easy to get caught up in these things, and I fucking do. But Deadpool 2 isn't the place for that. We don't care. What we do care about are kids getting abused. Now, they get called to a scene outside this, I think it's a mutant rehabilitation school. I can't remember what it's called.
It's basically what they just call it like a rehabilitation center.
Oh, no,
I don't think it actually had a full name.
They call it the Essex place.
Oh, shit! This movie has so many fucking Easter eggs in it, too. That is the thing that is so great about it.
Yeah, and the thing that though gets me though, because obviously Essex, Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister, and we got a sneak peek of that at the end of X-Men Apocalypse as well. Are they building up to something here? I don't know, because Mr. Sinister, despite the name, is a fucking badass, and that'll be interesting. And of course, because it's got his name attached to it, fucking evil Eddie Marsden is abusing the children with like this weird religious mutant torture things. And there's this kid called Russell, who I believe is also called Fire Fist, which to me sounds very sexual, but never mind, maybe that's just me. Who's
oh no, that's not just you, that is everybody.
and what is he into? Jeez. And he's causing a bit of a stink at the orphanage. He's throwing fire everywhere. And Deadpool, tries to talk to him, and he sees, oh, you're being abused. Oh, there's a skinny with a pedophile over there. Bang, dead. And here's the thing. Colossus. What did you think was going to happen? Really, what did you think was going to... Like, you let him keep his guns! Like, you...
Yeah, they let him go in with guns. He outright makes a comment about, oh, I probably shouldn't have packed the hollow points. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Like, hey, wait, in the X-Men, we don't let you kill. But I'm going to let you keep your guns. I guess we're operating by the honor system. It's not like the last time we had conversations like this, you shot a man in front of me while I was telling you not to.
As he even outright says in the movie, when he's later on when he's dealing with Cable, start talking. I have a history of shooting at a time like this.
At this point, Colossus, you're partly to blame, and because Firefest, let's be honest, it's a very tense situation, but it ends with Russell, because I refuse to call him Firefist anymore. Russell is far safer for me.
No, they all do.
Russell and Deadpool get slapped with mutant power dampening collars, which I guess they just have now. When do they have that? Why did they not have that in The Last Stand? Jeez, I think that would have saved a lot of people a lot of hassle. But well.
Yes, it would have saved headaches for cast and viewers alike.
Yeah, but yeah, again, Deadpool, we don't care. And they get shipped off to the Ice Box, which I'm sure contains Victor Freeze somewhere. But and we get to meet, while we're in the Ice Box, it's basically a big mutant prison. For the worst of the worst, we get to meet Black Tom Cassidy. Oh my!
That is a pull that I never would have assumed they would have made in any of these movies, and that's why it is so perfect for Deadpool, because it is just so out of left fucking field.
Yeah, because he was such a... He popped up frequently in Deadpool-related stories. I've read a lot of Deadpool stories with him in it. He is very closely tied to it, not just because of that, but also because of his... Is his niece, Siren? I can't remember. Was it his niece or his...
No, it was Banshee was his nephew or cousin, I think.
They're related in any regard.
Yeah.
And of course, Siren has been romantically linked, or at least closely linked, to Deadpool. When we get the sequel to this one, I want to see Siren. I want that. I want that hard. Get Saoirse Ronan to play her. I don't care. Just get her in there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, though. When Black Tom Cassidy turned up, my first two thoughts were this. Number one, oh my god, it's Black Tom Cassidy. Yay! Number two, the Juggernaut's going to be in this movie, isn't he? And then we get like a maximum security thing with like a big guy supposedly in there, and I thought, well, that's got the Juggernaut in it, obviously. And there's like, oh, it's foreshadowing, we're keeping it mysterious. Like, I know like most of the people going to see this, like people who aren't familiar with the comics, aren't gonna know it's the Juggernaut. I know it's the Juggernaut now. I'm calling it right here. Lo and behold, I was right, but still, I mean,
oh, it's still such a great reveal, though.
it is such a great reveal. We'll get to that when we get to that. And in the meantime, we've got like arse jokes to deal with. Hiding pens up arses. Classic highbrow comedy from Deadpool 2. What were we expecting? But I'll tell you what we were expecting. Motherfucking Josh Brolin with a cyber arm.
Oh yeah, no, and like I love how much. I think it's very funny that there's only one time in this movie that they actually make a blatant Terminator reference at him.
Yeah, and
I was really expecting it to be very heavy. I'm glad that they did it once and they were like, okay, it's out of the way, let's move forward.
Yeah, I would have done it. I mean, the reference for me was rather oblique. I can't remember what it was. I remember it was just very obvious. I just wish they kind of played around with it a bit more. Like, why couldn't have someone said, hey, you know what? You remind me of this movie. I think it was from the 80s, Lady Hawk or something like that. But
yeah, that would have been great.
But, yeah, because, Josh Brolin, he's a dead ringer for Rutger Hauer.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing was like, when they showed him at the one point when he's in the motel, and he's looking in the mirror, and he's got, like, the glowing eye and the metal arm and everything. I was like, he would be a fucking crazy Terminator, too, because he has a jaw that will murder a man.
Oh, God, yeah, it is as square can get. And that reminded me of the scene in Terminator, where the Terminator's hiding out in the motel room, and he's like, fuck you, asshole. I would have liked it, again, if they had someone knock... Exactly. If someone had knocked on the door and said, housekeeping or something, or can I come in? And he just gone like, he looked like he was about to say, fuck you, arsehole, but he said, actually, could you come back later, please? Sorry, it's not convenient. Cheers.
Oh, that would be great.
I don't know. But here's the thing, though. He looks, as much as he looks like the Terminator, feels like Terminator, he looks more like Cable. This is Cable. There's everything.
Oh, yeah.
From the cybernetic stuff to the glowing eye to the hair to the jaw to the scars over his other eye. God damn, it's one of those things. He's up there, I think, with Deadpool, with Beast, with just in terms of characters that have been transplanted from the comics onto the screen perfectly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I find it very funny that they make a joke with Cable that I think it's kind of like a 2-layer X-Men movie joke where at one point when Deadpool is giving his plan on how they're going to try and stop Cable, he makes a about like, and this is Cable. He is kind of short, 5'11", not as tall as he was in the comics. And I felt like that was a great joke about that being a thing that people were complaining about online, but it almost feels like it's also an inverse of how a lot of people complained about Hugh Jackman being like 6'2" when Wolverine is supposed to be like 5'3".
Yeah, like, in every other aspect, guys, he's a dead ringer. Like, give it a rest. Who cares? Like, that's not even a major character trait for him. Like, some people comment on his being short sometimes, once in a blue moon. Oh no, that's such an intrinsic part of his character. It will never be the same again. I'm not gonna cry at Logan to the end scene because he's just too goddamn tall. Laura, don't be what they made you. Well, you know what, Hugh Jackman? If only you were a bit shorter. If only. Then that scene would have had some emotional weight. But as it stands, he's just a tall man saying stuff.
Oh, and that is exactly how I felt in that movie. No.
Yeah. Oh God. But it. Cable comes
back at the prison.
Back at the prison, Cable comes back. He is shooting people all up in the place, and it looks for a second like he's trying to hunt down Deadpool. Movie, we are not stupid. We know he's hunting for the kid. It would be so obvious that he's hunting for Deadpool that it's actually obvious he's hunting for the kid. Like, this is another bugbear of mine in movies where you're given two options for something to happen, between two different people or something like that. Like, the best example I can give is, do you ever see that movie Jack Reacher?
Oh yeah.
Right, so, spoiler alert, towards the end of the movie, there's revealed to be a traitor in their midst. And it's between this one guy, who's played by this guy I can't remember, and this other guy, who I think was Richard Jenkins, but I can't remember because, honestly, I hate that movie, and I'm trying to block it out of my mind. And, like, the second character is, like, really grumpy and unhelpful. And the first character is really helpful and nice. If it turned out to be the grumpy guy, the audience would say, oh, that's obvious. Obviously, it's going to be the mean guy that was the traitor because it was so obvious throughout the whole movie. But if it turns out it was the nice guy, the audience would say, oh, it's so obviously going to be the nice guy because if it was the mean guy, it would be too obvious. And this is not entirely filmmakers' fault because it's just how audiences are right now. We've consumed so much media and we've got like 100+ years of cinema. We're a bit more familiar with these tropes. But at the same time, you can mix it up a bit, guys, and maybe not present us with two options that are both equally obvious and equally kind of disappointing when you get right down to it.
Yeah, I mean it's oh, what was the one that okay, so while I haven't seen the movie because I don't hate myself that much, I did hear about the movie Geostorm that
Right.
God, what's his name? Gerard Butler was in. So apparently, long story short, the point of this movie is they've created a satellite that helps them control the weather, and somebody has turned it into a weapon to try and destroy, like, the Middle East.
Who could have seen that
There's
coming?
only a few people. There's only a few people that could have done it, including the president or the president's right-hand man, played by Ed fucking Harris. Well, if you don't ever assume Ed Harris is the bad guy, you're wrong.
Yeah. I mean, even in films where he's the good guy, we always suspect he might be the bad guy.
It's like if you watch Gone Baby Gone, Ed Harris plays one of the detectives who's trying to find a missing girl. And it's not surprising when you find Ed Harris was one of the ones that kidnapped the girl.
Yeah.
Spoiler for a movie that's like 13 years old.
Yeah, I think the spoiler statute of limitations is gone on that one. I think you're fine. But yeah, and it's
okay.
I think it would just be much better if they just reveal right from the get-go he's hunting the kid. Because then we wonder, why is he hunting the kid? But then we would think, well, obviously the kid grows up and kills his family. But I mean, at least then they wouldn't be trying to, like, play around with us and, like, saying, oh, maybe he's going after Deadpool. Like, you're not kidding us, movie. We're wise to your tricks. We know that that's not really our nose that you apparently got. Our nose is clearly on our face. We're not three. But it becomes apparent rather quickly, to this movie's credit. And Cable and Deadpool have a big old fight, and it's great. And before this, Russell and the Juggernaut, before he's properly revealed, have a little bit of a bonding thing. Because Russell, I mean, this kid, he is so amazingly full of himself, but the kid is such a good actor that I actually buy it. We know he's talking a big game, but it never gets annoying for me.
I think the only way it gets annoying is in the fact that it's meant to be annoying. Because he is meant to be a teenager who talks shit and thinks he's tough despite not really being able to back it up. Because while he does have these powers, he doesn't really know how to use them. So he could be dangerous is like the whole concept that we're following. And for that, he has this vision of himself being a badass. And yet it isn't until we get further in the story that he really has the ability to prove that.
Yeah, and I think his character really comes together. And as I was saying, Deadpool and Cable have a big old fight because at this point, Deadpool has just been sitting waiting to die of cancer because he got the collar on, gets the collar off, and has a big old fight. And he does the stereotypical thing while they're fighting, saying, Cable's like saying, why are you defending the kid? And he's like, I don't care about the kid. I don't give a shit about the kid. And the kid overhears him. He's like, I thought you cared. And I'm like, really? We're doing that?
Well, what's even better about it is there was never a moment, like, except for the fact that he shot the one, like, pedophile-looking dude that worked at the reform center.
like, ever since after that, the kid's like, we're friends, we're partners, we have to have each other's backs. And he's like, no, we're not, no, we don't, I don't like you, let me die, just go away. And it's like, it's all this thing where it's like, the whole concept is in this kid's head, and every time he is presented with the no, we're not friends, we're not partners, I don't like you, he's like, yeah, no, you're wrong, we're totally friends. And it's like, so this time he believes him, even though he is saying it while he's stopping the man that's trying to kill you.
It's completely unearned. There is, and you know, if they had a perfect opportunity, because like Deadpool and Cable immediately leave the prison afterwards. They get blown out of it, and so Russell is still in the prison. He's still trapped there, and he's on his own, making friends with the Juggernaut. They could have still had him done like the thing like, well, now that Wade's gone, there's no one here to protect me. I guess I better go with the Juggernaut. And there was still, the plot could have still continued as it went perfectly fine without this stupid faux emotional sentimentality to it that it just didn't earn. And there are very few severely weak moments in this movie. This is one of them. This is one of the things where it's just like, no, movie, no, come on. I know you can do better than that. But in fairness to him, Deadpool,
or even on top of that, you could easily make it that it was something like, go longer on the idea that Deadpool thinks Cable's trying to kill him, and then it's only in this last moment where we reveal it's like, you know, why are you trying to kill me? He's like, I'm not trying to kill you, and then he realizes it's the kid, and then he gets thrown out of the way. So now it seems like you can build the idea of it being like he can't help Russell, and Russell can take that personally without trying to build this idea of like, you betrayed me. It's like, no, he didn't, because he never trusted you or was like caring about you to begin with. So what betrayal was there other than what you've created?
Yeah, I mean, either have an actual betrayal or just skip that whole thing entirely. Don't go halvesies. There are no half measures. Maximum effort!
Exactly. I feel like if there's any movie that you could get away with your main character leaving a kid to die, it would be Deadpool.
Yeah, because Deadpool don't give a fuck. Yeah, Deadpool just does whatever it wants.
At the same time, yeah, but I guess that the problem is that at the same time, the movie Deadpool that they have built is far more of like a regular person and a hero. Hence why they don't do the whole him hearing his own voice in his head and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I do kind of miss, but you know what? The movie works well enough for that. It's one of those things where it'd be nice if we had it.
No, it's not.
It's not necessary, as you
Yeah,
say.
Exactly. It doesn't ruin the movie in its absence at all.
Yeah, but then Deadpool nearly dies again, and he gets another vision from Nessa like, hey, the kid is the key. Oh, obviously I've got to save the kid. I'm doing this because it will mean I'll be reunited with my girlfriend in the afterlife, not because, you know, I want to save a child's life. But anyway, again, Deadpool. And
Here's your heart in the right place.
Yeah. But in order to do this, he assembles the greatest team ever assembled in comic book movie history. X-Force! Ugh! And
it is not derivative. Or it is. Whatever.
Yeah, but it's just because they got so many interesting characters, so many cool people to play him. They got Terry Crews and Bill Skarsgård. How?
Yeah, and I think what I loved about it was, and this does reveal into the next, you know, aspect of the story, is I think they were able to get these people because they already let them know you're not going to be here long.
Yeah. And so they get Bedlam, played by Terry Crews, Zeitgeist, played by Bill Skarsgård, Domino, played by, what's her face? How do you pronounce it?
Zazie Beetz.
Zazie Beetz.
Zazie
Beetz. And the Vanisher, whose powers do not work like that. He is a teleporter. He does not just go invisible. I don't know why they thought that would escape our notice. Jeez, it's a comic book movie. Come on, guys. And
see, and that's the thing is, I know that that's not his powers, but god damn it if that's not such a great visual joke. It's just that he is invisible the entire time.
Yeah, but they could have just made up a new character for that. Say, oh look, he's Invisible Boy. He's invisible the whole time. Okay. Yeah, like that.
True.
Maybe.
I guess it's a mixture of they wanted to use a name they knew people would know, and they knew was never really going to be a character that they were going to bring up in any of the serious movies. But they also figured, well, because it's Deadpool, we're just going to do our joke and put him on it instead of really caring about, like, you know, the accuracy as to who he is as a character, because there really are going to be very few people that are going to die on the hill of Vanisher.
Yeah. However, there is at least one person who is going to die on the hill of fucking Shatterstar, and that is me! Because I like Shatterstar, because I've read Peter David's X Factor investigations.
Yeah, they did Shatterstar pretty dirty in this, and it hurts for that concept, but I think I'm okay with it. While I do enjoy the character enough, I'm all right with it. If anything, I was just really, really happy to hear them bring up the Mojo verse.
Yeah, I can't remember if I heard Shatterstar was going to be in it, but the minute I saw him, I was like, oh, Shatterstar, oh, blimey. And then they mentioned Mojoverse, and I was like, really? We're going there? Oh, does this mean we get to see Longshot? But then again, luck powers, we've already got one of those.
Got one of those, and we've already got a dude with a glowing eye, so a lot of that's covered.
Yeah, we've also got like creepy yellow guy from Legion who looks a bit like Mojo to me, but
oh yeah, true.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool to see him, and we also got our darling Peter. Just
oh, Peter, my sugar bear.
Oh, Peter, my sweet babu. Oh God. What can you say about Peter?
I love how when the fact that not only did they have headshots for all of the superheroes, that Peter's headshot was the actor's actual headshot, and because he is not that like doofy looking as he is with the mustache and a little bit of weight on him, that Deadpool's immediate reaction is, "What the fuck is this? Am I getting catfished?"
It's a Rob Delaney who plays the character, and I swear I've seen him in other stuff, but I can't remember what.
Rob Delaney was... I know he's done a lot of TV stuff, but trying to remember what I remember him from. I'm also going to just go ahead and look him up and then read it off IMDb.
Well, don't tell the capers then. Keep the magic alive, man.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. No, I'm pulling this from memory. Absolutely, that's what I'm doing here.
Because we're professionals on PodCapers.
Professionals who do their research. Oh God, none of this sounds familiar. He was on Key and Peele a few times.
Good enough for me. When are one of those guys going to do a superhero movie?
Only other thing I see is Cougar Town, and motherfucker, that was not something I saw.
I watched like one episode of that, and I was like, I don't need to see this again. I am quite good. Courtney Cox, you do you. I wish you the very best, but I'm going to go and watch Community. And then Community crossed over with it.
I have seen... Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Ugh. Back to Deadpool.
Back to Deadpool, and so they go to attack the convoy where they're moving the prisoners, including Russell, and there's a high wind advisory. Throwaway line. I thought, okay, maybe so they're gonna have like wacky shenanigans, maybe, or maybe not. They all die horribly, except for Domino and Deadpool. Like Terry Crews smashes in. It was so hard.
Go ahead.
It was so hard to see Terry Crews smash into a bus, to see Bill Skarsgård get turned into a wood chipper and then vomit his acidic acid vomit all over Peter. No.
It was, as I was watching it, I completely forgot about the high wind advisory thing, but as he's in the helicopter with them and he's giving his speech, we're going to be great and you're all looking awesome and we're going to be an amazing team called X-Force and this is going to be, maximum effort. I was like, oh, they're going to fucking kill off everybody except for him and Domino, aren't they? And it was just like, as it was happening too, I was like, yep, here we go. This is oh, please, this is going to be great. I need to see how known.
And then the weirdest, Shatterstar was fucking heartbreaking going into the helicopter blades, but the weirdest one was Vanisher. He gets electrocuted on power lines. It turns out he's Brad Pitt.
Yep.
Why the fuck did they get Brad Pitt?
By Brad Pitt. Because if anyone knows anything, and obviously we don't until that moment, how is Ryan Reynolds and Brad Pitt not friends?
That is a very good point. That they have to be friends. And there's a lot of weird cameos in the movie. Obviously, we had the cameos from the X-Men, but we also, before this, when Cable first turns up, we get him turning up next to two hillbillies, and one of them, I swore I recognised. I thought, is that Alan Tudyk? It can't be Alan Tudyk. I looked it up afterwards. It's motherfucking Alan Tudyk.
And do you know who his friend is?
I don't know who his friend is. Who is his friend?
Redneck was Matt fucking Damon.
No.
Yes, it is.
So first,
they said apparently they they did him up in makeup and a wig. He did the accent, and he is credited as his character from Talented Mr. Ripley.
What is it? Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. What was being in Thor Ragnarok not enough for him? Like, Matt Damon at this point just do a fucking superhero movie.
I was gonna say, it's so great in the fact that it's like cameoed in Thor, cameoed in Deadpool. We are waiting to hear what is he going to actually be a superhero character in. And I really hope it is not in the DC universe.
Do you know what, sadly, this means he has been in more good superhero movies than Ben Affleck.
Yes, that's very true. Ooh.
Oh, sorry, Ben. We know you try hard.
Actually, if anything, he already had that title with Thor. It's now he's just doubling down.
Yeah. Oh god! Oh, but I know that they put some really good makeup on it, because I sort of recognized Alan Tudyk. They made him up a bit in that, but I did not recognize Matt Damon. That man is a chameleon. Wow.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I will say I only knew about it for the fact that I read it in an article that was talking about it. I'm not going to pretend like I detectived my way through that and been like, oh, I know that name. That name is this, and it was from this movie, and that means it was Matt Damon. No, I had no clue.
Oh god. There's so many little gems in this movie that I just love. But they also have the big action set pieces with the armored convoy thing, and there's a lot going on there. It's very AAA, big blockbuster action movie stuff, and it's cool.
That scene alone, I feel like, had far more budget than the entire first movie.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch. It's a lot of fun, and of course, you get to see Deadpool on a moped. Like, obviously, that's a dream of mine, and it's
yeah.
really. And Cable shows up, and it has a big fight, and, Domino's luck powers, I did wonder how they were going to do it. And the problem with luck powers is that's when you start going into probability and quantum mechanics and all this sort of stuff. And it basically means that nothing can go wrong for her, but at the same time, like, it's probability. So if something has a 0% chance of happening, does that mean she can make it happen? Or are you doing with, like, if something is like a 0.1111111 what something percent chance of happening, does that mean she can make it happen? And this is one of the things where they just say, oh, she's got luck powers. That's not very cinematic. Yeah, it is. Oh, but it is. Oh, but it isn't. Oh, but it is. And it's one of the things where if they gave us the explanation, it would straighten a few things out, but that wouldn't have been very Deadpool. That wouldn't have been something that this movie felt right,
No, yeah, to dive into things about how she can manipulate the percentage possibility of things happening and whatever else, like, it gets into a point where you're getting too explainy and you're expecting people to really dig into, like, this bullshit science of it. So to just say she has luck powers and that involves her, like, being the only one that doesn't get killed on the parachute, and, things flip around and don't hit her, and she's able to, way of something and it causes somebody else to get hurt that she didn't even know was there. Like, that works.
Yeah, guns jam when they're pointing at her. Little stuff like that Works out really well. There's other stuff that happens later, like tiny things. I think, like, wait, if she had luck powers, surely that wouldn't happen. But that's inevitable, and it's tiny things, and we really don't need to go into it. It's not. It's a nitpick at most. And
Yeah.
they finally they break up the prison and they break out Russell. The convoy rather, they break out Russell, and it's like, hey Russell, we came back to you. And surely at this point, if Russell was, you know, a sensible person, he would say, oh, you really do care about me. But he's like, nah man, I got my own friend, and it's the motherfucking Juggernaut, bitch. And then he comes out. This is no Vinnie Jones, people. This is the Juggernaut.
All 7 foot, 8 foot 9 of him.
And it turns out Deadpool was a fan as well, which I really like. I think, again, with Juggernaut's powers, though, they... Because the whole point of Juggernaut is, once he starts moving in any particular direction, no force on Earth can stop him. I'm not sure that was represented very well in the movie. Like, I guess you could say it might be the case, but I swear I saw bits where, like, he got stopped.
It seems like they made the Juggernaut's powers just super strength. Like, instead of the unstoppable force concept.
Yeah, which is fine, I guess, but that's not the Juggernaut. That just makes him like the Hulk, but with a big dome helmet, like, you know. And he's completely CGI, and weird thing is, though, in the movie, he's credited as himself. Okay.
And the reason is, I read this in the same article that told me about Matt Damon. It's because the mocap and the voice for the Juggernaut is Ryan Reynolds.
What can't that man do? Really? I mean, aside from a good Green Lantern film, what can't that man do? Oh, God.
We can't even blame him.
No, we absolutely can't. And listen to your episode with the Jock and Nerd talking about that. That's fucking informative, let me tell you. But and so they go. Russell and the Juggernaut go to this whole Essex reformed place thing to kill Eddie Marsden, and the Juggernaut's surprisingly willing to do this. Like, yeah, I got nothing better to do. I'll help you kill this guy, kid. Sure. And before that, though, he tears Deadpool in half. And when I say tears him in half, he literally rips him down the waist.
Yeah, he straight up does him dirty like Hulk on Wolverine.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic, and then we get baby-legged Deadpool, which is the most disconcerting thing I have ever seen in film, second only to that scene in The Brothers Grimsby where Mark Strong and Sacha Baron Cohen hide in an elephant's vagina.
Oh God, that was not something I planned on having brought back into my memory today.
I'm so sorry. But that will never be topped, though. That can never be topped. But Deadpool 2 came close. It really, truly did. And so Cable and Domino and Blind Al and Weasel, who's played by an actual fucking weasel, get together and say, okay, we're going to take this guy down. We're going to stop Russell. But okay, Deadpool, I will give you one chance, 30 seconds, to save the kid's life before I motherfucking shoot him. Also, Dopinder is there. I mean, good for them getting this character back. He's funny. He's a nice distraction. Honestly, I didn't need to see him in this movie. The movie, I think, didn't benefit a lot from him being there. It's not less for him being there. He doesn't hold the movie back. But he's one of those things that you could cut him out and it wouldn't change anything, I think.
Yeah, he's little bits of comic relief here and there in a movie that's already fucking hilarious without him.
Yeah, and it's the weird thing is the scenes where he says stuff like saying, "Oh, I want to be a killer now, Deadpool," and Deadpool just sort of stares at him like, "Hey, check this guy out. He's actually psychotic." And I don't want Deadpool to be the voice of reason ever, unless we're dealing with a kid being abused. When the guy talking about killing people, Deadpool should not be giving him looks like, "Whoa, guy, slow down." That shouldn't be happening.
Well, especially how in the first movie he was outright goading him into killing his cousin.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but it's fine. You know what, Dopinder? I have nothing against you. You do you. And they go along with did teenage Negasonic Teenage Warhead turn up at this point?
No, so what it was they went then to the X-Mansion to try and convince Colossus and them that they need their help to save this kid, and they basically decide no, they're not going to help him. So he, Cable, and Domino head off to the school alone to try and face down Juggernaut and Russell.
Yeah, and then we get possibly the greatest original piece of music in any film I have ever seen. Ecstasy of Gold, Piffle. This is oh shitballs, it's the Juggernaut. I mean,
watching that movie, and then as you're watching, and it's like you only first register it as just being like, oh, it's like operatic, cinematic music for a fight when Colossus turns up to fight Juggernaut. But then as you're watching, and suddenly you just catch, like, did they just say holy shitballs? And then you hear it over and over again. You're like, oh, fuck you, movie. That is brilliant.
They paid a choir to sing that. A professional choir, presumably. Oh, yes. Why has no one thought of this before?
I can't even imagine. Like, there's so many moments in this movie that it makes me just think of, like, how is this the first time this is only happening now?
Yeah, and oh god, and all this whole time, Russell is trying to kill Eddie Marsden. Was it Marsden or Marsden? It's trying to kill the headmaster of the school. Domino's trying to.
Say, I think you might be mixing. I think you might be mixing him up with James Marsden.
Oh yeah. Oh god, we're both at it. Oh god. Oh, James Marsden. You could have been Cyclops for more longer. You had to be in fucking Superman. Wait, is that the James same? Is that Jason
That's
Marsden?
Him. That's him. Yeah.
That's okay.
No, that's James. That's James.
Yeah, okay. And Domino's saving the kids. Deadpool and Cable are killing a bunch of. They keep on calling them pedophile guards. Sure, why not?
Yeah, that's the best you can do.
Yeah, and it gets to the point, and then they shove an electrical wire up the Juggernaut's ass. Because of course they do.
And the only. I was going to say, because it's a Deadpool movie, there's no way that that's not going to happen.
And okay, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. And
oh yeah.
Cable.
I'm trying to remember what was the line that Deadpool had after he and Cable take out all the guards. It was something along the lines of like, only best friends kill rapists this way, or something like that.
Best friends kill rapists together, or something to that effect. Yeah, which is true.
Something of that. Yeah, just.
That's what I do with all my friends.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, it's a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon, you know. And so Deadpool tries to talk Russell down. The kid's too far gone. He tries to blow up the headmaster, and Cable shoots him. And Deadpool, who has a collar on that dampens his powers at this point, throws himself in front of the bullet. Has the longest fucking death scene ever. By this point, along with Colossus, Negasonic and Yukio have turned up. Yukio kicks ass as well. Brilliant. I mean, these two perfect for each other. Dear God, I would watch a show just about them and their lives. And
oh yeah,
he says goodbye.
They didn't even have to fight crime.
Yeah, they could just be a sitcom about their life. Just them bumming around the X Mansion. I'd watch it. Oh God.
Absolutely.
And Deadpool says like goodbye to them individually, and you can tell they're sort of ripping off, pastiching the Logan scene, but it's just like, yeah, okay, we get it. This is what you're doing, you know. It's oh god, it's that scene from The Mask, isn't it? It's that scene from The Mask. Don't Tiny Trim, I won't be coming home this Christmas. Cough, cough. Tell Scarlet I do give a damn. Cough, cough. It's getting dark yellow. I don't know. And eventually he does pass, and he's finally with Vanessa. He's finally at peace. Then Cable does the stupidest thing he could do. Uses his one time travel charge remaining thing, because now the future's fixed, his wife and his kid are fine. He uses that to go back in time, meaning he can never return home, puts the skee ball token that Deadpool had, that was the only memory of Vanessa with him, that he stole earlier, puts it in front of his heart, and uses it to save his life, which means that Deadpool is now being brought back to life without Vanessa. And I get me thinking, like, is there any upside to this? Like, the situation was fully resolved. Deadpool was happy. I mean, granted, you didn't know that, I guess, but I think this may have done more harm than good in the long run.
I, throughout this movie, was waiting for what was going to be the moment that would drive Deadpool crazier. Because I kept thinking to myself, are they ever going to try and get him on the same level as the comic? And I'm assuming that answer is now no. We've gone 2 movies without it. But at first I thought killing Vanessa would be it, because that would help just make him crack even worse, to the point that maybe he'd start hearing voices. That didn't do. He did the whole thing of him being pulled back out of the afterlife. I went, maybe that will actually be what happens. The fact that he cannot go back to her now. No, that doesn't do it either. So that's what kind of told me that this was never going to be what it was. But in essence of the scene with him finally dying and being with Vanessa, if someone had told me that I would actually cry at Deadpool 2 when I didn't cry once during Infinity War, I would have thought them an idiot.
But it's a damn good scene. The way it's shot, the acting, and you see him step through like the veil that he's been unable to pierce all this time. And now when he steps through, he hasn't got his scars anymore. He's like he was before the procedure. Yep. Like when he first met Vanessa.
Perfectly fine Ryan Reynolds again. I was like, oh, fuck you!
You can't do me like that, movie. Don't do me like that. The feels and the song and the music and they repeat the same words they did when they first met at the beginning of the movie, and it's so beautiful. And this is earned. That fucking bit the earlier that wasn't earned. This is so earned, and it's so satisfying. Gets fucking ripped away from him. And I mean, it's good that we get more Deadpool movies. Obviously, they couldn't have more Deadpool movies if he was dead. I get it, I do. And they get a pretty nice send-off between him and all the other characters. Him and Cable get to a point of mutual respect. He still thinks that Yukio and Negasonic are great together. He and Colossus patch things up. Dopinder runs over the headmaster, finally being able to kill someone. Good for you, Dopinder. TJ Miller is still an asshole. And that's pretty much the end of the movie.
And not in the next movie.
Oh no! However, well, I mean, I like the character of Weasel in the comics. I think he's a really great foil for Deadpool. But it's TJ Miller. They'd filmed all of his scenes before. Apparently, what he did got out, so there's no getting around that. Also, something I do want to mention. I really like the little Easter egg sort of thing that we saw. What was the name of the bar where they go? It's like the Sister Something Mother of Mercy, because that's the name of the place where all the Mercenaries hang out in the comics.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Sister Margaret's School for Wayward Girls or something like that.
That's it. That's exactly. And I just love that because I didn't see it in the first movie, and I thought, why do they just hang out in this random bar? Don't they usually hang out at this place? And it was just so nice to see that. It was just another thing that I just remember because I saw him and TJ Miller him and Weasel coming out of that at one point. I thought, oh, well done, movie. Good for you. You've actually read the source material. Well done. Frank Miller, you paying attention. We've all seen The Spirit. We know you don't care. Ah, God. And this is something I want to mention. But, of course, we get a mid-credit scene where Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio repair Cable's time travel device and give it to Deadpool. The things he could do with that. I wonder what he could get up to. Well, I'll tell you, he saves Vanessa's life and Peter's life, but not Terry Crews, fair enough, and kills...
Yeah, I was going to say, he saves only Peter from X-Force.
Only Peter, because, Peter, I mean, if you've got to pick one character, you say Peter, goddamn. Kills...
Oh, goddamn, yeah.
Kills Barakapool from X-Men Origins Wolverine. then kills Ryan Reynolds while he's looking at the script for Green Lantern. Bless you, movie. Bless you.
I have to wonder what do they have to do so that they can't possibly be in trouble with Warner Brothers for that? Because they've made jokes about Green Lantern a few times, but it's to the point that they are outright saying he wishes he went back in time and killed himself instead of making that fucking movie.
I mean, in the first movie, they had that one shot from his wallet where it's him in a Green Lantern suit, and they referenced it so many times before. I think I'm up to date on my copyright law. I'm pretty sure you can mention the name of the movie, or at least if it's on it was on a printed page. I don't even think they mentioned the word Green Lantern. It was just the title page of the script. And I just like that when he's looking at it, Ryan Reynolds, the character Ryan Reynolds, says, "This is it. This is me going to the big leagues." Bang! Yeah. Fucking yeah. And, there's so many actors out there that just say, "Oh no, I made this crap movie, but you know what? I liked it. I think it's quite good." Or they just don't talk about it. Ryan Reynolds is perfectly willing to admit that Green Lantern fucking sucks, and that he wishes he never made it, and that he was willing to go back in time and shoot himself in the head. That is so refreshingly honest and funny. And that's what this movie is. It's refreshing, it's honest, and it's funny.
I think what I found really funny is there was. Do you know the thing that BBC does, the playground insults that they'll have celebrities do with each other?
Absolutely, BBC or Radio 1 playground insults. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've heard of it.
They did one that was Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin for Deadpool 2, and there's one point where Josh Brolin is listing all the things that Ryan Reynolds should be disappointed in himself in, and he says Green Lantern, and Ryan Reynolds responds back with, "Oh, I haven't even seen it. Not even the editor has actually seen that movie."
I believe him. I fucking believe him. Did they mention Blade Trinity?
They do.
Good. That's another thing. It's all very well making fun of Green Lantern and I guess X-Men Origins Wolverine. Why did they never make fun of Blade Trinity? There are ample opportunities for you to make.
Or RIPD.
RIGG. Oh, RIPD.
RIPD.
Yeah, no RIPD. You cannot do a ghost version of Men in Black. Okay, we already have an alien version of Ghostbusters. This is too much. You can't just don't. Although I do like Evolution, I will say that. Guilty pleasure. I don't care.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it is fun. RIPD fucking wasn't, but still. And that's the thing though. His girlfriend is now alive. They sort of fixed the whole refrigerator thing. She's going to be... I think she's going to be in the upcoming movies. So... I don't know. On the one hand, I feel like this is such a Deadpool thing that it's great. But on the other hand, they went through all this just to bring her back. Now, this is fine in this instance. Deadpool, the movie franchise, because it is now a franchise... I'm giving you this warning only once. Don't remove stakes. Do not be that franchise that resets everything at the end of the movie. Make sure there are lasting consequences, because if you don't, I am going to be an unhappy bunny.
I will say, I think if there is any franchise that isn't gonna really care, it'll be this one.
This is what I'm worried about. Because I mean, yeah, it's Deadpool movies, and I guess that's right. But at the same time, they are movies, and movies need to have stakes. Because if they don't have stakes, I'm just not going to care. I'll have fun watching the movie. I'll enjoy the ride, but I won't really care. And I care about this movie, and I care about the first movie as well. And I want to keep caring. As much as Ryan Reynolds clearly cares about this movie, because, goddammit, he's got a writing credit this time.
Mm-hmm. He's even got a PGA credit as a producer.
Yeah, this is his baby. This is something that really cares. But he's not an auteur. He's working with people. We got a new director in, David. How do you pronounce his last name? Leitch,
I think.
Leitch. Oh yeah, it is Leitch. And because it's a passion project, but he's working with other people, and it's that's what I love about this thing. It's this whole Deadpool thing could have easily fizzled out and gone wrong, but they took this pure magic and mixed it together to make movies that I think are genuinely special. And I hope they don't lose that magic, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you on that. That it's they have been able to do things that others haven't, and they have been able to subvert without outright damaging what they're building in the way of a comic-related product. And I think that the idea of him turning around at the end being like, okay, all of the things that we felt feelings about before have been undone, it's something that would happen with a Deadpool movie. I don't doubt that. But I also don't think they have not reached the point yet where they're going to try and beat any dead horses. So it's not something I think we have to worry too much about, but there is a possibility.
Yeah, but I think though one thing we take away is that this movie, as I've said at the beginning, is not a fluke. It is a success. It's got I think like an 80-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is damn good. It is as of the time of this recording, it is the 10th highest grossing film of 2018. Which I mean, we're 5 months in. That's not too bad. It will only get bigger.
No.
What's the box office return? I'm just looking that up now. On a budget of 110 million, it is now at I think this is worldwide 300 million. So it's doing good. It's doing good. People are seeing this movie. Thank goodness, because it came so close after Infinity War, and I was so worried for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, and that's the thing is at the moment, it's already more than doubled its budget back in the first weekend. So it's enough of a success that there's no way Fox is going to snub their nose at that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because let's be honest, Fox, making some strange decisions recently. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. In fact, last episode we talked about that and how that was stupid. At the time of recording, it hadn't been picked up. It's now been picked up now by NBC, like instantly. Like I think not more than a day went past, and it got picked up. So, Fox, you make bad decisions. Some will come in and pick up the pieces. We got a Firefly movie. Someone released test footage for Deadpool. People will make you regret your decisions.
It's one of those things where I can't really wrap my head around the idea that they decided to drop Brooklyn Nine-Nine despite really good ratings. But after there's been a whole lot of issues with one of the two main actors on their Lethal Weapon TV series,
oh yeah,
they decided instead of canceling the show that they're just going to replace him with Sean William Scott and then move forward with the show still.
Well, apparently the reason why they fired him was because he physically assaulted his co-star. Is it Damon Wayans?
Oh yeah, it is Damon Wayans. I didn't even know that. All I heard was that he is just apparently a douche.
Apparently,
was the umbrella thing I heard.
Apparently, not only was he very difficult to work with, he had been warned about physical assault before. And during a scene, which admittedly did involve a stunt and did involve, I think, an explosion, he ended up putting a shrapnel basically into Damon Wayans' head. Like, he actually caused him like a physical scar, and Damon Wayans basically said, like, this is not acceptable. The show cannot go on with him because people aren't safe. And I think that's perfectly acceptable. And recasting him, great, fine,
yeah.
as you say. But if you're going to continue a show that I don't think that many people are that crazy about, at least as far as I'm aware, that's only in like its second season, and you're not willing to go for another season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's almost like satire at this point. The amount of bad decisions Fox have made in regards to popular things like Firefly, Futurama, the list goes on. And now selling off their entertainment division to fucking Disney. Ugh. I mean, I worry for you.
Goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm going to reserve judgment, although the minute they fuck up with something in regard to that, I will unleash all the power of my righteous anger. But we'll wait to that. Hopefully,
and you have every right to.
As damn.
I think the other side of it is there has been word that apparently Comcast is trying really hard to get in the middle of that deal.
Yeah,
have recently. They recently have offered, I think it was $60 billion or whatever it is, to try and outdo Disney's bid. And like the fucking Bond villains they are, they offered to do so in cash.
Oh,
at which point I can only imagine that's just dump trucks that you're just dumping out money from.
Either that, like really big bills in one briefcase. There's like they got like $60 billion bills or something. I don't know what. I mean,
exactly.
Please forgive my British ignorance, but what exactly is the deal with Comcast? Because I keep on hearing this name, and I'm not quite sure who they are. They sound scary.
Comcast is a major cable company that is owned by, I want to say, I think Viacom. I'm not 100% certain, because that's the whole trouble with media over here is it's like 4 companies own everything, and it's just the parent company and then the company under that and then the one under that and the one under that and so on and so forth. The problem is that they have worked for a while to try and be one of the major cable providers that is like the Disney of cable providers, basically. They are trying to buy up anything and everything.
Oh, God, monopolies! No!
Yes, exactly. I had them for a while as a cable provider when I lived out in Pennsylvania, and they are a nightmare because they are the kind of company where they will come in, they will buy up every smaller company in the area so that you can only have Comcast as your cable company. And then once you decided that you're unhappy with them, they don't care because you can't go to anybody else. So they will just charge you what they want and tell you to deal with it.
Yeah, because this to me feels so strange though, because this feels like so, for want of a better phrase, un-American. Because you guys, you're really big into your capitalism, you're really big into this whole free market thing. The idea of one company owning everything and you've got nowhere else to go is very scary, especially over here. I don't think there's any company over in Britain there's a couple of companies that come close. We got lots of big, like Virgin and stuff like that. But we've got other options. There's plenty of options over here for internet and for we've got like Sky for one like cable and stuff like that. So it's not a case of, I mean, we have bad customer service, absolutely, because we don't go in for that shit. But it's very much a free and open market, and this is one of my big criticisms of Disney buying up everything. I don't want all my media to come from one place. I don't want Comcast. Is it what's AT&T's deal? AT&T?
AT&T. AT&T is they're a mobile cell phone and phone provider that has also gotten into the cable game by purchasing Time Warner Cable.
Oh,
so they're like interconnected in with Warner Brothers. Ultimately, the problem is that while you'll hear so many things coming out of America about capitalism and the free market and your right to have options and whatever, it's kind of just bullshit because those who usually champion the idea of the free market are those that are already super rich and they made their money off of that. And now they want to make even more money, so they don't want to be regulated by the government. So they champion the free market so that they, as a corporate entity, don't have to be regulated in what they can and can't do, so they can keep making their money while they destroy the free market.
The American dream in action, folks. Oh, God.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I do apologize. It took a bit of a depressing turn. We were talking about Deadpool 2 at one point, I swear.
I know.
The world is crumbling around our ears. Yay, Deadpool 2. There is actually one thing I think we should point out. It came to light that during filming, a stunt woman called Joy Harris died in a motorcycle accident, and I thought it was lovely that the movie was dedicated to her memory. When I was watching the credits, no like post-credit scene, but we got to see that, and I thought that was very nice of them to do that. It's very sad when something like that happens, and it's good that they paid tribute to her. I thought it was well done for them for doing that.
Oh yeah.
And aside from that, I mean,
well, I know that Ryan Reynolds has come out before, and he had said that, someone had asked him, like, we heard about the accident, what happened, and he was heartbroken over it, because as a producer, as the guy who is the spearhead of this entire thing, to have something like that happen, it can be a dark cloud, but also he is the kind of person where he knows that there are all these people working to bring something he cares about so much to light, and to have something like that happen, it's devastating, because in a roundabout way, you made that happen. And he is the kind of person where he will take that sort of to heart.
Yeah, and that means a lot, because in this age of cynicism and it's really important that you care about that sort of thing, and you pay proper tribute, because being a stunt person, it is hard and it is dangerous. And they're doing it just to entertain us. I mean, a lot of actors put themselves through a lot of grief and a lot of hassle and a lot of, yes, physical and emotional trauma, but it's very rare that an actor actually risks their life intentionally for something like our entertainment. And for someone to die during that, it really is a complete and utter tragedy. And it means a lot that it
Absolutely.
means a lot to them. And because movies like these do mean a lot to us. They do make an impact, both. And it's great that it means a lot to us, the fans, but also that it means a lot to the people actually making the movie. Because when you care about a movie and you have enough talent to back it up, very important, you will always end up with something special. Maybe it'll be great, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be okay, but it will be something special. Because this is why people still actually like The Room, of all things, because that was something that was made with love and passion and not a lot of talent, none virtually, but that's why people keep going for it, because you can feel the love in every frame. And it's the same with this movie.
Yeah, and I think that's why, honestly, to kind of do a little deeper dive into it for myself right away, is it's why the term maximum effort is such a great little catchphrase to come out of these movies, because exactly the mindset that brought them to light is that Deadpool as a movie, as much as Deadpool as a character, was a scrappy underdog that no one really thought could make it in this world of superhero films. But you had a lot of people who worked harder than some others maybe ever will, and they were able to make it work, and they made it happen the way they wanted to. And that's only seen through dedication and hard work. Like, that doesn't just, you don't stumble into that.
Absolutely. I mean, the first movie, like, people were saying, like, what, an R-rated superhero movie with humor? Like, no, surely not. Ryan Reynolds doing another superhero movie? Like, there were plenty of people that say this is going to be great, and that's why it got made, because of the fan reaction. But there were detractors, and there were people that thought this can't get made. And so it's great that when you, again, effort. It's, as you say, maximum effort. When you put the effort in, it does show. Because there are movies out there that are good, and there are lots of good stuff on scene, but you can tell they didn't put as much effort into it. And when you care and when you put the effort in, you'll always end up with something. Might not be something good, might not be something brilliant, but you have something. And in this age where we get so much stuff thrown at us, and a lot of that stuff amounts to nothing, getting something is just, I mean, admittedly you might say the bar's been set low, but it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% on that.
Great. Well, I'm glad you do, and I think that's a great point to end the show. Now, before we leave, guys, the email listing thing where you can get a free month subscription to Comic House, that's still going. We've pushed it back to the deadline to May the 31st. So, guys, Capers, get on that. Subscribe to our mailing list. We'll put a link in the show notes. Also in the show notes, we'll provide links to Matt and your stuff. Tell the Capers where they can find you.
Podcapers can find me, me personally, on Twitter at Matt Delhauer, as well as they can find the show, the Ginger Geek Pod, on Twitter itself as at Ginger Geek Pod. That's GNGR Geek Pod, because I was not lucky enough to get the actual word has it, and I don't know who or why, but I think they hate me. As
Damn
well as
them!
search for the Ginger Geek, as well as search for the Ginger Geek Pod on your standard your standard podcast listening places, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere that you usually get it, except for what is it, SoundCloud or whatever the other one is. I don't do that, and I don't know if because it feels like too much maximum effort, but we'll see. That's about it. That's where you can find me right now.
Yeah.
And GingerGeekBlogs.com is the website for the podcast, and if I ever get around to writing things again.
Absolutely. Because you've done work for like the Nerdist and stuff, haven't you?
I wrote for Nerdist for a little while a few years ago, a couple other websites, and then that all just kind of stopped.
Absolutely. But right now, of course, you're still on the Jock and Nerd podcast occasionally. So, guys, you should really check them out as well. We've said that before many times. We've had them on the show. I've been on their show. Check them out. Your stuff is great on there. And of course, we love them. We love Anthony and Imran and, of course, Rug Boy, even though he scares me. Yeah, dear. But anyway, point is, thank you very much for being on the show, Matt.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Great, as did we, watching Deadpool 2. And if you do the show, Capers, please tell your friends. Shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like one of our many other review things. We were talking about Thor Ragnarok and several other stuff we mentioned in this episode. Check them out. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, or at podcapers.com. We have a Patreon. Check out the awards, patreon.com/AP2HYC. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC, or email us at podcapers@AP2HYC.com. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone with the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been PodCapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!